Hi, my name is Daichi. I'm a beginner game developer. And a couple weeks ago, I decided to participate in Ludum Dare 46, global game development competition that takes place over a weekend. Let me just say that it was intense, but I'm so glad that I gave it a shot because I learned so much with regards to coming up with ideas, managing limited amount of time, and setting up a realistic scope, among many things. So I'm here to share that experience with you. If you're new to game dev and wondering what it's like to do a game jam, or if you're an experienced game dev and want something to make fun of, or simply interested in game dev in general, then stay tuned. The theme of the jam was Keep It Alive. To be honest, I was more intrigued by some of the other shortlisted themes like You Are the Power Source, Turn a Violent Genre Non-Violent, or 1 Minute to Prepare. I mean, isn't keeping it alive the point of most games anyway? Here's a list of ideas I jotted down. Keeping the enemy alive, keeping something invisible alive, keeping a giant alive, keeping the future or past alive, keeping the dimension alive, keeping something suicidal alive, keeping your memory alive. Although some of the ideas seemed really promising, I didn't pursue any of them. Why? Well, I have no clue. I continued to scribble down ideas on my sketchbook for the next couple of hours, stuck in an endless loop of scribbling shapes on my sketchbook, coming up with the idea, getting all pumped up, celebrating as if I won the lottery, and thinking about how to make it work as a game, realizing I can't actually make it work as a game, getting depressed, and eventually scrapping it. The first day, I went to sleep feeling frustrated and anxious, having made no progress. The next day, I woke up early and immediately started thinking about the theme again, but I was stuck. I decided to rely on other people's brilliance to inspire me. I leafed through my illustration books, Behance, the Ludum Dare website, where people were posting their work-in-progress games. Some people had fully working prototypes after the first day. Well, that only intensified my anxiety, and at this point, I was panicking. As I was hopelessly laying on the carpet, face down mind you, an idea crossed my mind. Keep Bob alive. The idea was to keep clueless Bob alive by indirectly controlling his movement with external forces. It wasn't the most interesting idea, but it seemed funny and doable, so I went ahead with making a prototype to test the concept. So you push the player around using a wind-like force. The wind also affects the enemies, so you have to be careful. The only way to rid of the enemies is to lure them into the acidic ponds. I was somewhat happy with the unusual way of controlling the player, but I wasn't feeling it. It felt really clunky to play, and it wasn't all that enjoyable. I decided to rethink the idea. I knew I couldn't completely abandon the idea since the deadline was fast approaching. So I thought if instead of a top-down game, I made it into a platformer, it would breathe new life into the concept. Luckily, I had recently completed a 2D Unity course on Udemy, and I had a project I worked on that I could use as a template. So the revised idea was an endless side-scrolling platformer, where all you had at your disposal was a vertical force to propel the player up. I also added a lightning ability so you could zap the enemies. Around this time, I came out with the title Oblivious Olivia, with a backstory that goes something like this. Olivia is a little oblivious. With the headphones on and eyes glued to the phone, she's completely unaware of the dangers that surround her. As her guardian angel, use your mighty powers to protect her. So I got to work. I recycled some code from the first prototype to launch the player up. I had 12 hours left to do all of the UI, art, animations, and level design. I made an animation for the water, the clouds, the monster, player, the enemies, the water pillar, the lightning. I made a translucent preview of the ability so it is easy to aim. I was pretty happy with how satisfying it was to zap the enemies. I made a little VFX for the water splash. I made sound effects. I added procedurally generated levels. I added 3 difficulties, so longer you survive, harder the game gets. Finally, I added a basic start screen and an end screen. All of the art was made to create a stark contrast between Olivia just going about her day, minding her own business, and an intense, chaotic environment where everything is out to kill her. And after all of this, the game was actually pretty fun to play. I wrapped up the game and submitted it to Ludum Dare 20 minutes before the deadline. Phew! So that was my experience attempting a 72-hour game jam as a beginner game developer. And here's a list of things I need to improve on to do better next time. Be better at coming out with good ideas, fast. Be better at programming. Be better at art. Be better at life. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, or even if you didn't, please like and subscribe. I'm just getting started.